I'm Dr. Brent Hughes from Sonoma State University, and we're out here in beautiful Tomales Bay, which has one of the largest seagrass beds in all of California. Tomales Bay is situated in the Point Reyes National Seashore, which means it has a lot of protection. But there are still threats to the seagrass, such as invasive species, climate change, and things like boat scars from propellers and moorings. So today I'm going to talk to you about two restoration techniques that use anchoring to establish new seagrass beds. This technique is great because it's low cost. It uses primarily biodegradable materials, meaning that once you put this out, that you can just leave it and not worry about things like plastic pollution. Before you get started, you'll want to use this quadrat. This is just PVC put together to make a square. We often drill holes in our quadrats just so if we're working in an aquatic environment, it doesn't tend to float. And the importance of the quadrat is to figure out an average density of seagrass shoots. And that will help you determine how many shoots you should be putting maybe on your bamboo. When using the bamboo stick routine, the easiest thing to do is just take the stick out to where you're going to be actually restoring the seagrass and just probing in to see how deep you can get that stick to go. Obviously, the deeper it goes, the better the anchor. And it will make a nice kind of muddy sheen. It's about where I want to transplant the seagrass, or actually put the bundles and tie the bundles of the seagrass to the bamboo stick. You want to go for the biggest, baddest shoots that you just harvested, meaning you want the shoots to be nice and green, you want them to be thick, and you want them to have a good section of rhizome like this. So I often, as a general rule of thumb, try to select the plants that still have about 5 centimeters of rhizome intact. And the reason why the rhizome is so important is because that is what eventually anchors these new restored beds to the sea floor. Another thing that I consider is, are there any epiphytes growing on the seagrass? And it's pretty easy to spot either an epiphytized seagrass leaf or one that might have some sort of disease. And then oftentimes they'll be brownish in color, sometimes even blackish. And you don't need to restore that. You don't need to transplant that material. So I'll often just clip it off really easily with a pinch of my fingers. And so what I'm left with is just a nice clean plant that's ready to be restored to its new habitat. Okay, so now we have our bamboo stick. We've measured approximately how deep it goes into the local sediment here. And so we want to attach now our shoots to this bamboo stick. And so the key is we're attaching really the rhizomes, because the rhizomes are going to be what goes into the mud. And so what I will do here is, and for the purposes for today, I grabbed a bundle of 5 shoots. And so I can spread these bundle of 5 shoots a little bit below where that sediment line is, because I want to make sure that, 1, I'm anchoring pretty deep into the mud, but 2, that there's going to be enough mud that the rhizomes can get into. And so it's a very simple procedure. Today I'm just using one of your garbage tie wraps, and I'll do not super tight wrap because you don't want to sever the rhizomes themselves, so they can break. So, but tight enough where they're not going to come loose when you're transplanting. We're ready for transplant. And you want to make sure that your shoots stay out of the mud. Now we're using the rebar technique. And in terms of supplies for the rebar transplanting technique, it's very similar, almost exactly the same as the bamboo stick technique. However, the concept is a little bit different. With rebar, instead of planting vertically like the bamboo stick, we're going to actually place this down on the seafloor horizontally. Now we have our completed rebar transplant unit ready to go. So I'm actually going to create a little bit of a moat because I want to get the rhizomes in there nice and deep. basically you can plant really high densities based on what your target densities are. And there's strength in numbers. And gently press the rhizomes in there, making sure that all the seagrass is not stuck in the mud. And then I might just cover it up a little bit. Since you're going to be putting out many of these to cover a larger area, it means there's a lot more weight that you have to consider. And so another thing is that this is not necessarily biodegradable. So the chances are that it's going to stay out unless you're able to retrieve it like the next year. So there are some advantages and disadvantages for using these two different techniques. And that's all it takes.